All right, I think if all of our panelists can join, it's right at 6 o'clock. I think that's just about everybody. Hi, my name is Kate Grace. I'm actually not a speaker, but I'm serving as the host. We do have one question that came in. For those of you that are not registered as a panelist, but that you will be speaking, we will be able to sort of elevate you as a panelist so that we'll be able to see and hear from you. So I hope that's helpful. So fellows, we might be ready whenever you are. At 6:01, we have a lot of people joining, but pretty soon we should be ready.
So the time is 6:02. Do you think that we should begin? Yes? Okay. Hello, thank you everyone for coming. This is the Diversity Stories exhibit opening. We are really excited that you're all here with us tonight. And before I start, I just want to introduce myself and my team. My name is Kassie.
And I'm Natalie.
And I'm Lauren.
And the three of us are undergraduate students at Emory University. We are part of the program Community Building and Social Change. It's a fellowship that through which we've been working with our community partners, David Manuel and Irasema Gonzalez, who you also see on this call. We've been working with them since the summer and 2 semesters before the summer to help increase their diversity and inclusion efforts at the Porter Sanford III Performing Arts and Community Center in South DeKalb. So what you're attending tonight is the first of our events covering one component of our project, that is the Diversity Stories Art Contest and the exhibit. So if you'd like to learn more about our project in general, we are having a community presentation tomorrow at 10 a.m. where we'll talk about our entire project, but tonight we're just focusing on the exhibit.
So we launched this initiative to give community members an opportunity to tell their stories and to connect with each other through various forms of art. Creative voices are important for addressing and processing issues regarding social, economic, and other forms of inequality. With everything happening in the world around us, we wanted to provide DeKalb residents with a creative outlet as a justice-seeking healing practice. We don't want to erase or silence narratives. Instead, we want to offer a platform for those voices to be heard and brought to the front so that we may celebrate our individuality.
Tonight, we'll hear from some of the artists who have submitted work, look at some of the wonderful pieces that will be in this exhibit, and most importantly, celebrate diversity. Thank you all for being here and for joining us. It is great to see so much support for the arts. We would like to introduce you to one of our community partners whom we have worked closely with this summer and has been a tremendous asset to our team, Irasema Gonzalez. Irasema, talking more about the center and what it brings to this wonderful DeKalb community. Thank you, Ira.
Thank you. Do you hear me, everybody? Yeah, good. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here with us today. Gracias por estar aquí hoy con nosotros. A recording of today's presentation will also be uploaded to our website with a Spanish closed caption later this week. También se subirá una grabación de la presentación de hoy a nuestro sitio web con subtítulos en español al final de esta semana. I want to thank you, Porter Sanford Center III, whom the center was named after. Porter Sanford III was a devoted servant for the community and dedicated commissioner. We all are grateful for his service and how he always pushed the importance of diversity in our community. I hope that our efforts are making him proud and honoring his legacy as we strive to engage more and more of the DeKalb County community. He, as well as David Manuel, myself, and many others agree on the vision of serving the community while embracing diversity and inclusion. The identity of our county, DeKalb County, is multicultural. We are fortunate enough to have residents from many backgrounds who make this community all that is. When I first started my work at Porter Sanford Third Center, David said, "Welcome to the place where the dreams take flights." This summer, I was able to see two of my dreams taking flight. Thank you to our partner, Emory University Community Building and Social Change Fellows Program, for working with us these past months, 6 months or more, to help to shape these dreams and help us connect with the community through art. Thank you again, and I hope you all enjoy hearing from all artists tonight and celebrate our wonderful community. Gracias por estar aquí hoy con nosotros celebrando nuestra comunidad. Abrazos. Thank you.
Kira, for those kind words. Next, we'll be hearing from community artist Malika Garrett, who will be speaking about the importance and the power of art. Malika, are you on? Sorry, I think we're experiencing some brief technical
Can
difficulties.
you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Hi, everybody. I was a little confused on the camera, but thanks for having me here, everybody. Hi, David. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you, David, for inviting me and including me. You always do, so much appreciation. I'm very excited to be here and not at all surprised either to see that you are continuing to lead this whole diversity in arts initiative, which I don't even know when you started. I think you been doing it all your life. So David and I go back a long, long ways. And when I say long ways, I guess 16 years, which maybe some of you are about that age. I had gone to David back when in 2004, I believe, and I had to show you guys, if I don't know if you can see this, but this was an exhibit held called The Faces of India over at the Woodruff Art Center, and he was then there, and he gave me the opportunity to have my first solo show there. So that's how long I've known him, and we've been doing this, trying to push the diversity through arts program since then. So this is very cool that you're doing it over in DeKalb as well. And as I said, I'm not at all surprised. So that's awesome. So this is obviously an exciting event, especially given what our lives are currently. And it's much needed, as I believe art in all forms is a great equalizer. I don't think the meaning of art or what art is really changes across cultural lines because it's a human thing. You know, all humanity shares this innate creativity, and I believe every one of us has that. So equity, diversity, and inclusion in the arts is more than important and critical, particularly now as we are so deeply divided. The divisiveness we are experiencing presently, in my opinion, is really mainly driven by fear and the unknown. And I believe we as an artist community, we can really be the catalyst and bring together the world and our communities to really help kind of overcome this fear, I hope. So no longer can art and culture be considered as something nice to have or something extra. I do believe that this art and culture is now an economic driver with huge impact in our neighborhoods, in our communities, our jobs, our employment, our creativity, and above all, I believe it's also an outlet for mental health, which is such a big issue across the world, not just here in this country. To me, as artists, I believe we are a point of connection, and we are impacting connections around human-centered issues to really make changes in social change and make an impact there. Personally, for me, art is like meditation. It is an outlet of bringing forth inner peace through art making and alchemy, of course, in which I think states of inner conflict that we have and confusion can be transformed from suffering into great compassion. We are all, in the end, each one of us wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to be appreciated. And as my dear friend Oprah Winfrey has taught me, let passion fuel your profession. And on that note, I wish that each one of us here today, each one of us around the world, can really be filled with the passion and the power of art. So having said that, I will hand it over to somebody else and let's get this party started. I'm really excited to see all the art and meet everybody. So thank you for this opportunity again.
Thank you, Malika. Next, I would like to introduce Representative Becky Evans, who will be introducing our first artist tonight. We kindly ask that any questions you have for anyone, including the artists, be held to the end where we will have a brief Q&A session. As you think of questions, you can send them in the Q&A chat and we will be sure to keep track of them. Thank you, Becky.
Great. Hello, good evening. And I'm so glad to be with you all tonight. And I want to thank Irasema for reaching out to me. And I remember well, Irasema and David, when you all came to my office this winter. And I'm so grateful for the good work you're doing at the Porter Sanford Center. And I love this your mission to broaden the diversity at all the folks that are being served at the Porter Sanford Center. And I also appreciated hearing the artist speaker before me, and I absolutely believe in the passion and the power of art, and that art has the incredible, power to bring people together, especially in these divisive times. I have a son that's an artist, a brother-in-law that's an artist, so I'm a big believer in the power of the arts. So yes, I'm Representative Becky Evans, State House District 83, and I have the pleasure tonight of introducing a young woman named Anna. Anna is a rising junior at Decatur High School, and along with running her painting business, Anna paints. She enjoys working out, hanging out with her friends, and listening to music. Anna has been painting for a few months now, but since she has started, it has become not only a job, but a passion. I am excited to introduce Anna to you.
Thank you, Representative Evans. This piece emphasizes the racial disparities that have continued through this century in the past hundreds of years. In this day and age especially, one cannot ignore the hate, the violence, and the prejudice that has been done unto our Black brothers and sisters. In response to the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and the many other lives lost to police brutality and racially motivated violence, this piece depicts a Black woman with tape over her mouth and nose labeled, "When Can I Breathe?" This highlights not only the racial violence that has happened among our Black men, but in turn how Black women are affected by it. This pertains to me, a Black girl, my mother, also a Black woman, my friends, family, and many others I know. Being a Black woman means not only being Black and not only being a woman, but being a stereotype within two other stereotypes. As Black women, we have been beaten, raped, marginalized, categorized, sexualized, and so much more. For centuries on end, we have been oppressed in ways unimaginable. Yet, we still rise. As entrepreneurs, political leaders, artists, mothers, sisters, and friends, we have risen above the stereotypes and worked and fought hard to become Black women. Throughout the past decade, the terms Black don't crack and Black girl magic have been redefined by beautiful Black queens, not only in this community and in this nation, but throughout the world. However, we cannot take all the credit in defining success and diversity. Diversity means everyone, not just one group. Let me remind you that this art piece illustrates how we must stand up for our Black brothers as well. We have the privilege and the obligation as strong Black women to stand and fight for our Black men, our fathers, our brothers, our husbands, our family members, and friends. We are one. Black men, Black women, and Black children. When our Black men are murdered via police brutality or otherwise, our Black women are murdered as well. When our Black men have their windpipes crushed under the knees of a police officer, our Black women are crushed as well. When our Black men are shot while jogging, taking out a hairbrush, eating Skittles, or playing with a toy gun, our Black women are shot as well. When our Black men can't breathe, our Black women can't breathe either. In turn, this piece begs the question, when can we finally breathe? If you would like to purchase this piece, it is available at anna._pates on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That was really powerful. I feel like I should take a second to just digest that. That was the second for everybody. So next we will be sharing Fadrika Prather. Fadrika is creative, persistent, fun-loving, has a good sense of humor, and this is the way that all of her family and friends would describe her. Fadrika has lived in the South DeKalb community her entire life and absolutely loves the diversity that DeKalb County has to offer. At the tender age of 48, she is still growing and learning more about herself and being open and receptive to all of life's teachings. Fadrika is not afraid to reach for the stars. In fact, she was among the stars when she appeared as a contestant on Steve Harvey's Family Feud game show. Fadrika hopes to win big by using her creativity in the television and film industry to encourage people to be better, not just in DeKalb, but in the entire world. Before we hear from Fadrika, we're going to play a piece of her video submission. This piece is called Dear DeKalb.
Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines diversity as the condition of having or being composed of differing elements. Variety, especially the inclusion of different types of people, such as people of different races or cultures, in a group or organization. But to me, diversity means so much more. Dear DeKalb, you are so beautiful. Whether it's what you wear, the way you choose to wear your hair, or the uniqueness of your names.
If you'd like to see more, make sure to check out our exhibit. So, Fadrika, would you like to take the stage?
Can you all hear me? Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am just so excited to be here. I first just want to thank Emory's CBSC Fellowship Program and also the Porter Sanford Center for the Performing Arts, just for allowing me to share my art and to just share my thoughts on what diversity means to me. At the end of this clip, you'll see it. The film ends showing an animation of a cow and pig walking hand in hand. So my thoughts are gonna. I'm explaining my thoughts via that ending clip, because when I think of diversity, that ending clip just sums it all up for me. Because in this clip, you see two very different animals, a cow and a pig. They look very different. They do very different things. I mean, cows cow and pigs pig. I mean, they do what they do. There you go. But they're, even in their differences, in the way they look and how they behave, each animal plays their part. They each make their own individual contributions while they're here on Earth. And they do this just by being themselves, just by being who they were born to be. In the clip, you see them walking side by side, tackling the day's task, racing to solve the world's problems, and they do this together. You see them in the clip, you see them working together. Despite their differences, they put their differences aside. Better yet, they use their differences to figure out how to make the world a better place to live. So if a cow and a pig can do this, then we should be able to do this too. DeKalb County is one of the most successful counties in the nation. And I personally attribute its success to how diverse the county is. So those are my thoughts on diversity and its importance.
Thank you, Fadrika. Next, we'll be hearing from Aixa, who will be introducing our next artist.
Me?
Yes, we can hear you, Aixa.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Aixa Pascual. I'm with the Latin American Association, and I was honored to be one of the judges for this art contest and exhibit. And I've been involved with helping the fellows over the past several weeks on this wonderful initiative. So it's my pleasure to introduce Tiffany. Tiffany Blue Soul Artist Woolard is a 39-year-old who is the owner and operator of Blue Soul Artist Creative Services, LLC. She's an art educator and entrepreneur residing in Lithonia, and she teaches at Cedar Grove High School in Ellenwood. She's a functioning photographer and a designer living with a debilitating rare bone disease called Kienbock's disease, also known as a vascular necrosis of the lunate. The disease has never stopped Tiffany from being creative. It has only given her an outlet to educate others about the disease and how she lives and creates with it. Tiffany?
Oh, Tiffany, you're muted right now.
Sorry, okay. Sorry about that. Greetings, I am Blue Soul Artist. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity to share my work and its meaning. My piece is entitled, Wake Up. I created this piece during a time of deep thought where many changes were occurring in the world and around me personally. I kept hearing the words, wake up, as I began to paint this unidentified, genderless creature. Each layer began to serve its own purpose and meaning. The blended colors represent the unity and ties of a rich and diverse world. The black and white stripes in the background represent the American flag without its symbolic colors. The formed raised fist represents the solidarity of each culture colliding and standing in power. I wanted any individual who came across this piece to be able to identify themselves through it, leaving out race, religion, and gender. When you take those things out of the equation, they pose the question of diversity and its meaning, its true meaning. Diversity has played a major impact in my upbringing. Being born in Queens, New York, and spending much of my teen and adulthood here in Georgia has exposed me to many different scenarios, and I am grateful for each and every experience. These experiences have allotted the opportunity to bring diversity and culture into my classroom. I enjoy exposing my students to a world of many cultures and possibilities. My motive as an art educator is to instill the understanding of others and self with each and every student that I encounter. Thank you for allowing me to use this platform to tell my story. Please feel free to follow me on my social platforms at Blue Soul Artist. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Thank you, Blue Soul Artist, for sharing your work and story with all of us. We really appreciate it. Next up is Don Erdman. Don lives in Tucker, Georgia. He is a professional music player playing the clarinet and saxophone. He is also 77 years old. Don put Hotlanta Dixieland Jazz together in 1990, 30 years ago. They have performed all over the world and produced many recordings. They performed as a trio, quartet, quintet, and sextet. Dixieland Jazz was the very first form of jazz ever performed and appeared around 1900 in the South, primarily New Orleans. All forms of jazz, swing, bebop, cool, and modern, have evolved from Dixieland. Dixieland is also known as traditional jazz, trad jazz, and New Orleans jazz. We'll hear a little snippet of Don's music before he speaks. Sorry, Kassie, I think you need to unmute your microphone.
Okay, my bad. Let's try it again. I'll start over. Can you hear it?
Thank you for sharing that piece with us, Don. Would you like to say a few words on it and your experience entering the contest?
Sure. Am I being heard all right? Can you hear me?
That sounds great.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, that was a little gospel thing called Just a Little While to Stay Here. And much of the early jazz used gospel music straight out of the church. The most famous one is probably When the Saints Go Marching In and Just a Closer Walk with Thee and things like that. But jazz, which started in 1900 in the South, primarily New Orleans, is really a gift of the African American culture because that was the source of its beginning. And this is strangely connected to the Civil War because right after the Civil War, the Union armies went and occupied the major southern cities like Atlanta, Mobile, Charleston, and New Orleans, just to be sure that there would be no flare-ups after the war was over. And they stayed in these cities for some time. And then eventually they mustered out. Now, when they left these cities, the bands left their musical instruments to the community, to the churches, orphanages, and schools, and the like. These instruments got into the hands of some very talented African-American musicians, particularly in New Orleans. And that was when jazz was born. If you want a very specific definition of jazz, it is improvisation. If there's no improvisation, it is not jazz. And the Black players of that time just had so much talent and created such a wonderful improvisational music. It just caught fire. It just caught fire, and white players would go and listen and they would try to emulate it, and it was just such an exciting thing and such a happy music to dance to. When the First World War started and New Orleans became a naval port during the First World War, the Navy shut down the entertainment district of New Orleans, and all the musicians there had to leave. Many of them went to Chicago, some to New York, some to San Francisco. But what was before that a regional music, jazz was just a regional music in New Orleans, Mobile, Charleston, Atlanta, and so on. But that made it a national music when these musicians were forced to leave New Orleans and find other places to play. I love this music. I loved it when I first heard it when I was just a kid in elementary school, and I was playing clarinet, and the clarinet is, of course, a highly featured instrument in Dixieland. And my dream was always to have a Dixieland band and just play this music all over the world. And that's what happened when I put Hotlanta Dixieland Jazz together. We were able to do a lot of traveling, make a lot of recordings. It has been a wonderful thing, and it is just the most happy music. I love it.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for sharing your music with us. Before we continue,
Sure.
we'd like to give a brief reminder to everyone that if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section on the bottom menu of your screen, and we'll be able to get to them at the end of the presentation. To continue, we'll be hearing from Prem Bania, who will help introduce our next. Thank you, Prem. Prem, I think you need to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now, thanks.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Prem Bania, a program coordinator at Center for Pan-Asian Community Services, CPACS. Founded on the belief that people need people. CPACS is the first, largest, and oldest organization in the Southeast to focus on the issues and concerns of Asian Americans, especially women, children, and families with low incomes. It's my pleasure to introduce Jairine Kinner. Jairine Kinner is from Decatur, Georgia, born and raised. She is 20 years old. She lives with her mother, father, and older sister. Right now, she is attending Atlanta Art Institute for Animation. She is a sophomore right now and enjoys the school so far. She has always wanted to be an artist, and her inspiration comes from her mother and grandfather, Jairine.
So unfortunately, Jairine wasn't able to join us tonight, but we're really excited to share her work with us.
Yeah.
So next up is Jillian Noel. Jillian has been painting a few years and has always loved art in some form or another. Sketching in particular was her first love. The pieces selected were passion-driven. Endangered animals appeared on the horizon during the Australian fires when one of the koalas struck in a tree was rescued by a passerby. The woman removed her shirt, wrapped him in it, and took him away to safety. That scene just broke Jillian's heart. She began researching endangered species and found koalas, snow leopards, and polar bears were on that ever-growing list. She has also continued painting other animals, which aren't completed yet. For now, however, she sincerely wants the world to see how climate change is wreaking such detrimental effects on innocent creatures. Jillian?
Okay. Hi, I just want to say thanks for including my work in the virtual show. I currently live in Auburn, Georgia, but my family owns property in Decatur and South Atlanta. I went to school for graphic design, but has been staging homes here in Atlanta area for the past few years. I've only been painting for a short while, but somewhat more consistently since the city closed down for COVID-19. With a lot of time on my hands, I started creating these pieces that you see here on the screen. I believe strongly in giving back to the earth, recycling, growing my own vegetables, and in particular, taking a special joy in directing attention to endangered animals. My daughter started me out actually with a few rescues. She didn't want to take care of them, but I ended up with two beautiful kitties, so that I love. The Australia fires last year, however, subsequently added several other species to the endangered list. The koalas, for one, according to reports from National Geographic, nearly 1,000 koalas have been found dead so far in the fire-devastated zones of northern New South Wales. I'm currently unable to travel to sift through the rubble to help in that form. But what is within my reach are paintbrushes and canvas. I've always believed that I could change the world, but we must actually have a world to effectively change. This is my drawing attention to changing climate and volatile creatures which can't speak for themselves. Some of the other species from the endangered grouping are polar bears, snow leopards, and an ocelot that I'm currently working on. I just want to say thank you all for allowing me into your show and for being able to see all this other amazing work that I've seen here today. Thank you, guys.
You're so welcome. And we want to thank you too, because you represent a really important part of what diversity and inclusion can look like. It's not just people, but it's also how people interact with the things around them. So we really appreciate you bringing in the environmental justice aspect to this entire show. Next up, we will have Leanna. Leanna is 16 years old and entering the 11th grade at DeKalb School of the Arts with a major in vocal music and a minor in art. Before COVID-19, she loved swimming and running track. Now she spends her time writing poetry and experimenting with art. Leanna, would you like to say a few words?
Yes. So my piece is inspired by the word agape, which in Greek translates to a love for all. So when I think of diversity, I think of different types of people coming together or lack thereof, depending on where you are. So for example, I'm part of a club at my school where we celebrate sexuality, identity, expression, but some people don't have that privilege. So that leads me to the blindfolds over the girls' eyes, which are American flags. This represents what I find to be the hypocrisy of America. The same place that builds you up can also tear you down depending on who you surround yourself with and what you choose to do about it. The girls, they have on pride bracelets, one representing bisexuality and another one representing pansexuality. They're both crying, fighting for their rights of being women of color and being women of the LGBT community. So the main idea of my piece is that this couple who couldn't be more different in terms of race, sexuality, they come together and they still show each other love through agape. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanna. That's a beautiful piece, and we all really appreciate you sharing it with us. And last but certainly not least, we will be hearing from Camille Sutton-Brown and her children, Atlas and Hypatia. Camille Sutton-Brown lives with her two children, Hypatia and Atlas, in the Toco Hills area of Decatur. Camille's absolute favorite thing to do is to travel and immerse herself in new places and spaces, both locally and globally. Hypatia loves to dance, paint, and to create clothes for her dolls. Atlas loves to listen to music and play a variety of musical instruments. A fun fact about their family is that the three of them were born in 3 different countries: Camille in Canada, Hypatia in China, and Atlas in America. Welcome, Camille, Hypatia, and Atlas. Sorry, Camille, I think you need to unmute your microphone.
Sorry about that. Hi, everybody, and thank you for having us. So 3 of us, each of us submitted a piece, myself as the mom, as well as my 2 children, my daughter Hypatia, who's 5 years old, my son Atlas, who's 4 years old. So the piece in the middle is the one that I did. I'll speak about that first, and then Hypatia will speak about her piece, and then Atlas will speak about his. So this artwork is a very abstract representation of what diversity means to me. I use bold and contrasting colors in the painting to depict the various identities that one has and the ways in which they bleed into one another. I then cut the painting into strips and then arrange them into kind of a whimsical crossroad pattern. The intent of this artwork is to show the interconnectedness of the ways in which we move through this world, mediated by our individual, collective, chosen, and ascribed identities, making us all part of a fabric of diversity which cloaks us all. Our identities may shift according to situation. For example, sometimes the identity itself does not shift, but our performance of the identity does. And the most salient aspects of our identity may differ depending on the audience. For example, being female is likely more salient at an engineering conference than it would be in a mummy and meat class. So this abstract representation artwork represents the intersectionality of our identities: religion, gender, race, ethnicity, primary language, ability level, sexual orientation, mental health status, nationality, socioeconomic status, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My argument with this piece is that no matter how much difference there may be between two people or a group of people, there's always some aspect of the identity that intersects with somebody else. And for those who find it difficult to work across differences, then it's their responsibility to seek and find such similarity, regardless how small, and use that as a point of connection and realizing that we are all threads of this fabric of community. Now, personally, as a person drawn to colorful and patterned clothing, I believe that the more diverse the fabric, the more rich and interesting it is. And so let's all continue to enrich DeKalb County by inserting our diverse identities and experiences into the community, by listening, understanding, and talking across borders of identity, and by advocating for the threads of fabric that seem to be pilling. By strengthening the parts that have begun unraveling, we strengthen the fabric as a whole. So that was my piece in the middle. And then Hypatia, whose piece on the right, the drawing, she will say a few words about her piece and what it is. You want to say what you drew? What did you draw? Okay, she's getting a little shy, she's 5. So she drew a picture of a school, and in the picture there's a few people. One person, she says, is mixed like her. The teacher is Black and she uses a wheelchair, and then one other student in the class is white, and she thought this was important to show that people with different cultural backgrounds, as well as ability levels or physical abilities, are all together and playing together at recess. And then my son, his name is Atlas on the left. So we have something called spin art. You can hear him in the background. So he has profound, quote unquote, disabilities and has very limited physical, fine motor, gross motor, verbal skills. However, he still uses an adapted art equipment to express himself. So in submitting the artwork, I wrote my own interpretation since he doesn't use a systematic form of communication yet. So I'm going to use his speech device to just say a sentence about his work.
Diversity is people from different walks of life sharing a space and seeking to understand one another.
So his was mostly about, trying to understand, whether in an absolute sense in terms of him and not feeling not understood, or just people from different backgrounds and trying to talk over one another instead of trying to understand one another. So thank you again for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. We really appreciate you being here. That was the last of our speakers, but this isn't the end quite yet. If you look at our slides, these are some of the other pieces, not all of the rest of the pieces, but these are just some of the pieces that you can look forward to seeing in the virtual exhibit, which will be on our website, DeKalbDiversityStories.com. It will be live after this, this Zoom meeting. And many of the judges raved about the diversity and the uniqueness of all the different pieces and said that it was very hard for them to pick a winner. And we know that everyone is probably really anxious to find out who won the contest, but we've decided not to release the results of the contest until tomorrow. This was a very intentional move because we did not want to announce the winners of the contest and have that be more important than the work that was shared itself. We didn't want to take away from the value of each person's work and how much effort and thoughtfulness was put into it. So stay tuned, submitters, to see who won, and also don't forget to check out the virtual exhibit. We want to say congratulations to everybody who submitted. It was really a pleasure for us to see you all participate in the contest, to interact with you all, and to just be able to provide a platform for your work and experiences. Lauren, Natalie, and I developed this contest exhibit a few months ago. And it was a very bold and exciting, but potentially unreachable vision for us. And we're so glad that we were able to put it out and make it happen. And it couldn't have happened without everybody here tonight. So we just really appreciate everybody for being here. Now, David Manuel, our other community partner and the director of the Porter Sanford III Center, will be speaking about his experiences. David, would you like to go?
So first of all, I want to thank the CBSC fellows for a job well done. We are all popping our fingers for you right now. You can't hear it on Zoom. But to give you just a little brief history, back in early 2000, I think it was 2002 or 2003, while working as a community relations director for the Woodruff Arts Center, I didn't see the representation of diversity walk through the doors of the performances at the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra or the exhibits at the High Museum of Art. The representation didn't reflect the makeup of what the city looks like. So I wrote a grant to American Express that addressed the issues of diversity in the arts. And we titled that initiative, Celebrate Diversity Through the Arts. The program created a platform to bring leaders, art influencers, and neighborhoods to have a seat at the table and have an open discussion about cultural expression and what should be showcased at the Woodruff. The Woodruff being the third largest art center in the United States, we thought that was very relevant. And this program, which was only to last 2 years, was extended an additional 8 years because it was gifted $500,000 from Turner Broadcasting. And that changed the model of programming for the center. This also led to a partnership with the National Black Arts Festival, strong relationship with the Chinese Business Association, Mexican Center of Atlanta, the Association of India, and so many other in terms of bringing programs hosted by the Woodruff. Now, fast forward, I'm at the Porter Sanford Performing Arts Center. And although we have been booked solid for the last 7 years straight, we now have the opportunity to improve on diversity of our offering and introduce more people from different backgrounds to this jewel of South DeKalb. So working with the fellows at Emory starting back in 2019, discussing diversity and inclusion and the role of the arts in our community could not have been at a better timing as we look at what is happening in our world today. The arts continue to be the vehicle to cross over all barriers that may present itself, and street level arts and cultural scenes signals the diversity and economic vibrance of the city. I want to thank my staff. I want to thank Irasema. I want to thank my marketing team, Don Cribbs and LaShonda Davis. I want to give a shout out to our Director of Recreation Parks and Culture Affairs, Chuck Ellis, who couldn't be here tonight, and our Deputy Director, Marvin Billups, who just lost his brother, so he couldn't be here tonight. I want to give them a special shout out for giving me the green light to be as creative as possible in terms of working with our community. And I also want to give a special shout out, and I know you will too, to Bobby Sanford, who's attending, who is the wife of Porter Sanford, who inspires me every day to make sure that center is striving to do better. And also Commissioner Larry Johnson, who is District 3 Commissioner, and he's technically my boss, and he is so dedicated to the community, and he has a hands-on approach in terms of bringing the best to South DeKalb, as well as Commissioner Lorraine Cochran Johnson. That support system in DeKalb County has made it possible for us to keep striving to the top in terms of how we reach and how we connect with people. So again, I want to thank you guys for participating and attending. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. To view all of the pieces shown tonight, as well as many other creative works, please visit our website where the gallery will be live after the close of the event. We're really excited to share all the work with you guys. There is stories to be shared, beautiful pieces to look at, videos to watch, music to listen to. Each piece of art has a caption with its meaning and story section from local community members. We have been extremely impressed by all of the work that has been submitted, and we're so thankful for everyone who has contributed. Also, if you want to learn more about the importance of diversity and inclusion in shaping a future for equity, there are educational resources available on our website. We also want to give a special thank you to Commissioner Larry Johnson for coming, Allison Govertz from the DeKalb County School District, Porter Sanford's White, Bobby Stanford, like David has just mentioned. Thank you so much for coming. We want to thank any Emory staff who has been here, including Vice Provost for Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Carol Hatterson. And the wonderful guest speakers, Representative Evans, Aixa, Prem, Kate Grace, the director of this program, who has always been here to help us, our professor for this program, Dr. Rich, and our fellow fellows. Thank you all for coming and supporting this project.
Again, thank you all for coming. We want to remind everyone that we are having an event tomorrow as well, where you can learn more about how we're going to move beyond diversity and inclusion and continue to push these initiatives forward, as well as the research we've done and the information we've gathered from a survey we've distributed to the community. If you need any of us or would like to get notified about events like this in the future, you can use the email shown on the screen now. We'll now be going to a Q&A portion where you can ask questions in the box, as we mentioned before, and we'll be opening this stage up for artists to speak about their work if you need any more information. If we go over the 7 o'clock mark, we understand people have to leave, but we hope that if you can stay, you will. We don't expect to go more than 10 minutes over. And if you can't stay, we really appreciate everyone being here. We are so grateful to everyone that's contributed. We know it took a lot of work from a lot of different people, and so we're just really grateful for everyone who's helped out.
Also, if you would like to see our community presentation tomorrow with more details about this project, that will be at 10 a.m. tomorrow. You can find the information on our website, which is listed on the slide. And now we'll be answering any questions that anyone has, so feel free to put that in the chat. If you don't have any questions, that's all right too. We will accept comments as well. And if not, I hope that everyone has a great night.
Well, I have a question. For whichever artists want to answer this, feel free to send us a quick message so we can elevate you. My question is, how did you decide which part of, so we gave you this broad category of diversity. So how did you decide which part of diversity to make your work about? What really pushed you to do that? You can talk about personal experiences or general like things that you're interested in, but was it like the moment that we're in? Anything, what you think? Any takers? Oh, Camille. Camille raised her hand.
Anna has also said that she can speak.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, yeah, so my piece, as you know, is about the intersectionality of diversity. And so for me, rather than focusing on one in particular, I really focused on how those identities intersect. And, you know, we have a multitude of identities that we carry around with us. And again, as I said in the description, some are more salient at certain times and others at other times. So really just wanted to talk about the nuances between them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My piece in particular, I had already painted this piece like before I even knew about this exhibition, but I think obviously it was, you know, the time we're in, not only with, you know, Corona, but with all the prejudice that has gone on within the past couple of months. I just felt inspired to, you know, create a piece from my perspective. This piece was actually inspired by another piece. I forget what the artist's name. It's like Loki or something. I don't know. But this piece was actually inspired by somebody else's. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to make this like, I need to make this like bigger. I need to make this better. And like, as soon as I found out about this exhibition, I was like, this is the perfect platform to, you know, express what diversity really is and how diversity isn't just one group, it's everyone.
Definitely, definitely. We're gonna elevate all the other artists as well. I wanna ask a follow-up question and anybody feel free to jump in. So you guys created these art pieces, right? How did you decide what medium to put them in? Anna, you mentioned that this was a piece that you had already created, but for example, with your piece, why the canvas and painting, and Camille, like why the paper and the art and the color splattering everywhere? Like what drove you guys to do it in the form that you made it? And that's open to anybody. Feel free to just chime in. You can unmute yourself and speak. I see Fadrika raised her hand, but I don't see her elevated yet. But if anybody else wants to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my piece is a film presentation, and I just gotta give kudos to the Lou Walker Senior Center here in South DeKalb, because during this pandemic, they have been offering virtual classes for their seniors. And they were kind enough to not only just offer the classes to the seniors, but they open it up to the community at large. So I was able to take the class that they offered entitled Video Editing Using Your Cell Phone. This was a 6-week class. As a matter of fact, it ended just 2.5 weeks ago. The class ended. Now, prior to taking this class, I have never, used a video camera ever in my life. I was actually a little bit hesitant about taking the class because electronics is just not really my forte, but I mustered up the courage and took the class. And it was with these skills that I learned, about taking good photography and videography and video editing. I gained the confidence to say, you know what? I am going to create a film and enter this film into the contest. This is the very first time I've created a film. So my reasoning, that was my reasoning for choosing film as my media to express diversity. Honestly, if it had not been for the Lou Walker Senior Center here in South DeKalb offering that class, I probably would not have entered this contest, but I'm so glad that I did. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the Lou Walker Senior Center. But I also could not have done this film without my family. My mother, Betty Prather, has, she's always been my cheerleader. Since I was a little girl, I've been creative, just dibbling and dabbling in all types of creative things. But my mother has always been my cheerleader, supporting me in all of my creative endeavors. So love you, Mommy. And then to the cast that's the actors that are featured in the film, they were also my family members. And I could not have done this film without them. My nieces, Kennedy, Kiara, Courtney, my sister-in-law, Angela, and then also my brother. He was my technical advisor because I created this film using my cell phone. And so whenever I had technical issues, I would call my brother and he would just bail me out. So I just want to give a shout out to just thank all of my family members for supporting me with this film. But I chose this medium of film, and it was a challenge because it's, you're talking about a topic on diversity, you probably want to have some people. So the challenge for me was to create, how am I going to create this film and use people during a pandemic safely? So even when I was filming the cast, I wore a mask. You know, I had been around my family, these particular family members throughout the pandemic. So, you know, it was easier to create this film using people if they would participate, and they happily agreed to. So, I just took a bold step and just said, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, create this film, try to use my newly acquired skills that I gained in the class. And again, this was just 2.5 weeks ago that I finished this class. So when I said earlier that I'm really excited to be here and that, you know, I'm showing my work, I truly meant that because this is my first time ever creating a film, and I'm happy at, you know, how it turned out. So I hope people get a chance to see it. It's called Dear DeKalb. Diversity sometimes can be a heavy topic. So when you watch the film, I wanted to kind of lighten it up, which is why I chose a format of conversational letter writing style, hence the name Dear DeKalb. Also, the animated clip at the end of the cow and the pig, you know, I wanted it to end light on a light note, and you know, and to bring about hope, you know, and change. So that, you know, that was my inspiration and my reasoning for choosing the media that I chose. So
thank you so much. Thank you. It's so nice to hear all the background. We don't get all of that, so it's just really cool. I Blue Soul Artist wanted to say something as well.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to speak on my piece in regards to why I created it. I'll be very quick. Well, basically, the moment in time that we are in brought me to the point where the way that I take out any type of frustration or feeling and emotion, art works for me. And that's one thing that I teach to my students. Take everything you feel and just throw it into your art. I painted this with acrylic paint, and I actually used gold spray paint at the end, but I created with acrylic paint on cotton blend canvas. And, you know, I like to use acrylic because it gives me the ability to mix and blend. Some might lean towards oil, but acrylic works for me. It dries fast, but I work quickly, and I'm able to manipulate it by using water to kind of thin it out, and just kind of layer and mix the colors as I go. But I just kind of get lost in my work when I paint, and that's where I got the blended colors from. It all just came together nice and peacefully and clean, and then I sealed it off with the gold spray paint just to kind of give it more of emotion, and that's it. But the piece Wake Up, like I said, it just represents the blended cultures and colors.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to say anything? We're at 7:03 right now, so there is time, or we can stop it here. No takers? Oh, Jay Colbert raised a hand. Would you like to say something? Jay Colbert, you are unmuted and on the screen, so you can speak.
Okay, I'm a volunteer at the Port of Sanford Theater, and I was just sitting here thinking and wishing that more people could see the exhibits and be there in person. And I'm sorry that I'm not able to volunteer this exhibit just to see it and to know it. And I hope soon that the Port of Sanford will be open back up and we can have more things like this, you know, for the people in our neighborhood. So I'm a volunteer, and I'm sorry I'm missing it. So I'm sure that a lot of other people are sorry that they are missing it. But I will spread the word that I did view it online, and it's very much worth seeing. And thank you for this opportunity.
Well, first of all, we love our volunteers, so thank you for your support and volunteering at Port of Sanford. We want to open those doors as soon as we can. Once we get clearance that everything's cool, we're going to open those doors and continue our wonderful programming. But because we're in the situation that we're in now, we've been very creative with this virtual art exhibit. And not only that, in our department, our entire Department of Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Affairs, we have hosted a nice, and we continue to host a very awesome summer camp for all our children. Our children are getting meals every day. We hadn't missed a beat. So although we're dealing with challenges in the world, our department has continued to move forward in terms of serving the community. And we want to make sure that we continue to do that in every aspect, whether it's summer camp, whether it's art. So we thank you for your support. And at some point, we will open up real soon and we'll get back to some sort of sense of normalcy. But right now, I'm excited to partner with Emory with these fresh ideas on how you can still bring events and programming right to your computer.
And also, I want to, for the volunteers, I miss you too, guys. We will be doing different activities online, and I hope you could participate with us, even if it's through the online platform. And for all the partners that connected with us, that help us to spread the word about this event, thank you very much, because we couldn't do it without of you, with all your collaboration. And also I want to thank my husband, Daniel McQueen, that is there connecting, as well as my family in Madrid and Mexico.
Does any other artists have anything, or participants have anything they want to say? The Q&A section still works. If not, I'll give a few minutes to see if anybody has anything they want to say.
Fadrika and Tiffany have their hand raised.
No. Is that from before or from now?
Not too sure.
Fadrika, do you want to go?
No, I've said everything that I wanted to say.
Okay, then that was probably from before. Okay. Well, I think that's the end of everything. Thank you all so much for coming. Again, we really appreciate the support, the viewers. Make sure you check out the virtual exhibit. It will be going live right after this, so stay tuned. And you can check back tomorrow if you're interested to see who the contest winners were. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.